All right. So you Googled, is Odessa a great place to buy in 2026? I'm Jimmy V. This is Anio, the realtors you need to know. And today we're going to dive into some Odessa stats for the month of May and going into June. So here's the update. After months and months and months of prices, hitting the floor last year, they've pretty much stabilized, and the median sale price is pretty much flat from this
Okay.
time last year. However, there are 24% more homes sold and a median average days on market of only 35. So, really, what we're seeing is that the overall correction of pricing in Odessa has plateaued. And now, what we're watching is whether this stability is going to continue. So, we're going to break down the numbers even further for you. And we're going to start with Annie.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure there's some people that are kind of happy about hearing stability versus, down. So, first stat we're going to talk about is how many new homes came on the market as we closed out May and we head into June. And it was 107 properties that were on, and that's up 24% versus how we ended May of 2025. So, if you've been a buyer and you've been waiting, on the sidelines because you've just wanted that perfect home because Odessa is more of a luxury market, you finally have selection. So that is huge news for you for waiting the last year. Like, it's finally starting to pay off for you. 24% is huge. Now, if you're a seller, this is kind of that flip side of the coin, is that there is more competition on the market for you. So, and it's at every price point. So if you're listing your house now, you have to earn that offer because buyers now know that they have more opportunities and more options available for them.
Okay. Now, as far as the median sale price goes, it's pretty much completely flat. Last year, in the entire month of May, the median sales price was 607,000, and in 2026, it was 606 and a half. So, it's pretty much flat. So, what's really great for buyers is that, prices have really, plateaued as far as going down, and they've stabilized, and the floor is really there. So, they really
Okay.
know what the prices should be in Odessa. Now, if you're a seller, this is actually good news because with prices plateauing, that means the bleeding has
Yep.
stopped.
Yeah.
So, prices are not coming down as much. So, when you have price stability plus more buyers, this reset has truly happened, and a new chapter really goes from here for the city of Odessa.
Yeah, there's going to be quite a few sellers that are happy to hear that because usually when you talk about, inventory going up and then, you assume that prices start going down. So the fact that we're not there, if you're a seller and you're looking to selling your home right now, you can breathe a sigh of relief with that. So let's talk about the total amount of inventory that's available right now for Odessa. And when we say inventory, we basically see if no other properties come on market, how long would it take to sell out of what we currently have available? Because that gives you a good barometer as far as like where are we, seller market, buyer market, neutral market, excuse me. And right now we're sitting at about 1.6 months total. And that's about the same as it was from last year as well. We've just never had a ton of inventory, which goes back into my explanation earlier, how buyers were just basically waiting because they just didn't have things to choose from. So the fact that we have a little more inventory is great, but overall, like our stability in terms of just available homes overall has flatlined. So that probably correlates with the fact that pricing's kind of done the same thing too.
Hmm. Yeah. And then as far as your average days on market, it's actually down from, this time last year,
Mm.
and it's sitting at 35 days. Now, to put this in perspective as a buyer, 35 days, for the median days on market in the luxury market,
Yeah.
that tells you that, the upper end of areas around Greater Tampa Bay, which Odessa is one of them, is not sitting around, and people are looking for those upper tier, more luxury style homes. Now, if you're a seller and you're priced right in Odessa, you're under contract more than likely in under a month, which is pretty much unheard of recently
Yeah.
in this price point. So,
Really.
really, speed returned when the prices have stabilized, and the market is really showing us and correcting itself to exactly what it needed.
Yep. It basically shows and proves that the buyers were there, they were just waiting. They wanted what they wanted and they're willing to wait for it,
Yeah.
which usually typically happens when you're talking about these higher price points. People tend to be a lot pickier because they're like, hey, if I'm spending this kind of money,
Right.
I expect certain things with it. So
Right.
I don't think there's anything weird about that. Now, here's a stat a lot of people don't generally like to talk about, and it's the amount of homes that came on market and did not sell. So we call them expireds, withdrawns, canceled. Now this will be a little skewed because generally speaking, Odessa doesn't have a ton of inventory across the board as it is. So
It's only one zip code.
yeah, exactly. So we had in May of last year, there's only one cancellation. This year it was five.
Mm.
Now, that it like if you were to look at the stats perspective, you're like, whoa, that's a massive jump. But we're talking, five out of 107 new ones. We only had, so many sales that he's about to talk about. So overall, seeing that there was five, that does show us proof buyers are being choosy. They're not just going to pay whatever they want, as far as what a seller wants in terms of perceived value. They are looking at the market, they are paying attention to the pricing. And the win, really, if you're a seller, is you haven't lost any more value. You're not bleeding anymore, kind of what Jimmy was talking about earlier when it comes to your home value. So if you need to move, you know that there is a threshold. There are buyers coming and looking at it. You can sell relatively quickly in 35 days, but there is a ceiling to what people are willing to pay for that. And unfortunately, five people wanted to play around with that, and they learned the hard way.
I just want to bring up something real quick. I know it's a market update video, but I was having a conversation, with one of my potential sellers yesterday. And when it comes to pricing your property and expired listings,
Yeah.
A lot of people and a lot of realtors will tell you, well, if you price it high, then you're going to chase the market down. And most sellers have this mentality of like, well, that's okay. I can always start high and go down. I can't start low and go high. But one of the things they really don't take into account is holding costs,
Yeah.
right? So if you price your property correctly, not only is it going to sell in a quick amount of time, you see here in Odessa within 35 days, but you're not going to incur the holding costs. If you still have a mortgage on the property, you're still paying taxes, insurance, potential HOAs in some of the communities in Odessa, utilities,
Yeah.
and the potential list can go on if you still maintain the pool, if you have one, the lawn.
Right.
So these holding costs can really increase. So pricing your property correctly not only will help it sell fast, but it'll also net you more money in more ways than you think.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to bring that up because a lot of people don't think about that. So take it for what it is. Then the last stat we're going to go over, which Annie mentioned, is the actual number of sales in Odessa for the month of May in 2026. Now, looking at the numbers, the sales were 67, and last year they were 54. So that's a 24% increase year over year. So buyers really came back into the market once the prices leveled off and corrected themselves, as we mentioned earlier. So if you're a seller, the volume being up 24% with prices flat, that's truly pent up demand releasing itself, and people that have been sitting on the sidelines are ready to pull the trigger. So overall, the market in Odessa needed a reset, not a collapse. And now buyers have validated that with, a new price level and a new pricing tier.
Right. So we have a bunch of new inventory that came on market, but the buyers were basically sitting there waiting, wanting that inventory. And so it all correlated with that growth, which also helps sellers because now we found out where the average is and they're no longer bleeding money. So I think that's all a good wrap up, really, for this month.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we finish up, if you happen to be thinking about buying or selling in the Odessa area or really anywhere, like we said, in Pasco County, we want to hear from you. We're here to provide insights, data, and honestly learn about your specific situation so that way we can craft, the perfect plan that makes sense for you so you can make the best and informed decision possible. We've got clients on both sides every week that we're helping, and that's exactly what we do. We lay out all the information stats and then we tell them, what makes the most sense so that they can do what they got to do. So if you have any other questions, please reach out to us because he's Jimmy B, I'm Annie O, and we're the realtors
you need to know.